Welcome to the Secrets of Men Quarantine Q&A. It is flippin' fantastic to have you here. Thank you so much for supporting me and the channel. Today I give back to you by answering your questions and say thanks for supporting me in my journey to empower women through growth, self-esteem and authenticity. So I've got a bunch of questions here from the YouTube channel and the Facebook group. Before I get into them, you can get free downloads. You can get my first chapter of my book. The link is in the description below. And if you want to look ahead to see what questions are on today's video, you can do that. Just head to the description and there'll be little timestamps so you can run through them. Today we're talking all things emotional availability, healthy relationships, how to spot the two. We're talking flirting, we're talking getting things started, how to know if a guy is serious. Lots of fun stuff. It's great to have you here. Let's dive straight in and we're going to start with questions from, where are these from? That looks like the YouTube community page, which is Sarah. Sarah says, how to compliment man in a way he feels valued and trusted, both in person and over text. How to understand what men sees in women and what is beauty in his senses. Okay, let's start with the first question, Sarah. How to compliment. It's actually super easy. And it's a great question because this is really, really important to men. We need to feel your appreciation. So get this right. Number one, really mean it. The compliment has to be genuine. If it's ingenuine, it's not going to hit. Really mean what you say. Number two, stand by it. Right? If you feel that he's turning you back, or if you say, hey, you did the best job here, and he's like, oh, no, it's nothing. Oh, it's really not that good. Stand by it. Tell him, like, take the compliment. It's amazing. You're allowed to say that and really force your frame on him. Like, bring him up with you. And number three, is compliment little things. Right? Don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be a big thing. In fact, one of the best ways to do this is to have a wins journal yourself that you fill out at the end of each day. This is something I make my clients do because they start seeing how much they've done. Each day, how many successes they've had. If you fill this out each day, you think you haven't done much during the day. You're like, oh, I did. I did mine last night. I had like 13 things that I achieved in the day. I was like, this is cool. Even if it's something super simple, when you start complimenting yourself on a great job done over little things, you'll more and more start to see a man doing a great job with all the little things that he does, which means that you can more genuinely mean it and stand by it. Question number two is from the Facebook group. Join, link in the description. When a guy says you are just friends, but he gives you all the boyfriend benefits, not physical, he takes me out for meals, spends time with me and my children, he messages good morning, good night, even during Corona. He is checking in often during the day. What does this mean? I'll tell you what it means. It means he's enjoying the emotional experience of having you around, but it also means that he has either unwillingness or inability. He's either not willing or not able to go further with you. i.e., he's either not that into you or not into you enough, or he's into you but fears, emotional blocks, whatever it is, are stopping him. So you got to be careful of these guys because they take up all the emotional space in your head and they like your attention, but they actually stop you meeting the person that could be willing and able. Next question from Zina. What to do when a guy keeps teasing me whenever he sees you? Tease him back. That's simple. If it gets really annoying, call him up on it. Just be like, hey, you keep bringing this up. Like, what are you doing? That joke is so like last month. Just playfully or then seriously call him up on it. But the best way is to just tease him back. And whatever he's teasing you about, own it. If he's like, oh, you have the funniest hair. Like, you look at your hair, just like rub it in his face. Dude, yeah, put this in your face. Akka says, how to give love without being taken for granted. Girl, you gotta have boundaries. Boundaries. It's beautiful that you want to give love. And you should. That's what makes you such an amazing partner. But if you don't have boundaries around that and standards that you expect the guy to step up to continue to receive that, then it's a one-way equation, right? That which you value will be valued by the guy. That which you respect in yourself will be respected by the guy. That which you put boundaries around will have men who respect your boundaries and value you for those boundaries coming into your life. April says, how to start a new life after a breakup. I got a few videos on this, a couple of articles, so I'll see if I can link you some stuff in the description, April. But it's a wonderful question because so many women are going through this right now. Number one, process, girl. Right? Let yourself feel whatever you need to. Let yourself feel sad. Let yourself feel angry. Just feel whatever you need to. This is extremely important in this time. Number 2, and I'm a little biased here, but I stand by it, is book in with either a psychologist or coach. I literally had a client last week. She said, we broke up 6 months ago. I've been torturing myself for the 6 months since. And after one session with you, Mark, I'm feeling great about it. Right? The reason is because some of the emotions you have to process, but then there's a whole other batch that are created by the narratives that you put on the situation. This woman's narrative was that she screwed it up. She made a huge mistake. It could have been a great relationship, and none of that was true. So book in with a coach or psychologist to change those narratives and give you an honest explanation about what happened. After my last breakup, first thing I did was book in with my coach, and he really helped me see that this wasn't something I'd done wrong. You know, I took the narratives about my self-worth off the breakup. And number 3, positive enrichment. Spend time with your friends, spend time doing your own thing. Breakups are literally the number 1 time in your life where you can grow, do whatever you want, start over. It's a beautiful time, so take advantage of it. Next question is from Laura. Laura's on the YouTube channel, and she's in the subscriber community area. That's the one. So check out the community as well. There's posts in there. There's fun stuff. Come hang in the community and post your question for the next Q&A below as well. Laura's question says, my boyfriend and I have intellectual disabilities, and I'm in my first very serious adult sexual relationship with him, and I've never been in one before, so I'm really nervous. Nice, Laura. Congratulations on your bravery. That's really cool. I do want to be married eventually sometime in the near future, and I want to know if my boyfriend and I are both emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, and ready for marriage and lifelong commitment at this point in life. How can you tell if you're emotionally ready for marriage? And how do you know if you are marriage material? Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, so I'm going to keep it pretty simple this one, Laura, and refer you to a couple of other videos as well. I would focus on the quality of the relationship first and foremost. Right? Marriage is just the beginning. Okay, marriage is going to amplify everything that's already there. If it's good, it'll make it better. If it's bad, it'll make it worse. Marriage puts a microscope on all the things in your relationship. So if things aren't working, marriage is going to blow those up and make them bigger. So if I was you, I would honestly say take your time and focus on the quality of the relationship. Watch the video I did with Ben Ritter about relationship skills and qualify the relationship on that. And second, check how much hardship you've both been through. Right? The amount of hardship that a relationship can survive in a healthy way is going to be relative to the long-term healthiness and potential of not just the relationship, but the partner's ability to be individuals in the relationship. So I would be really focusing on the relationship, the health of it, and how much hardship have you guys survived, rather than focusing on the marriage if you want to be a judge of where it's at. Awesome question. Thank you. Darian, I think also from the subscription community area, says, I've been in a relationship first 5 years, then 10 years, then 11 years. I'm the one who always turns my back after arguing up to physically hurting each other. Is there something wrong with me? I'm not wrong to break up. I feel insulted and hurt. What do I do to have a long-lasting relationship? There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, but there is something very wrong with the relationships that you're ending up in, Darian. This is obviously not something that I'm going to resolve in an Ask Mark session. I would definitely be booking in with a psychologist or coach, because you've got to get back to what's the butterfly effect thing that's happening early in the relationship that is seeing this big nasty tree grow. Okay, the 5-year ending or the 10-year ending where it's incredibly negative, and this is horrible, obviously, that's a symptom of something that started much, much earlier. So you've got to trace back and say, okay, what is the belief? What is the myth about love? What is the behavior that's at the start derailing my relationships? And then we want to pivot your relationships out of this pattern and into healthy. Book in, do the work. Don't spend another 10 years in a relationship like this, please. Charmed says, I have a question, please. Charmed, I'm sure. How do you move on with someone new if you have a toxic ex who is causing problems? No contact is not possible because the kids are involved. I don't want to involve the new guy because it's still too early for that. Yes, I would not involve the new guy. Boundaries, Charmed. Boundaries. Boundaries. even when you're talking over the kids, you have to have boundaries with that. I don't know the specifics, but I know there is a way for you to have boundaries with your ex where it does not affect the relationship, the new relationship, and not the kids either. Hopefully not the kids. You can't control what he does on his end, but you can control the boundaries on your end. Okay, so it's all about your boundaries, and the struggle many empaths have with boundaries is guilt often. So you've got to examine the guilt and pull yourself away from that pattern. Shannon says, basically I met this guy on a night and sparks flew straight away. We texted for a week or two and then he stayed over mine and we slept together. When he left, we were texting and he basically hinted at the fact he wants to tell me he loves me. When we next saw each other, he told me he loved me. Is this a red flag? Yes, it is, Sharon. We've known each other just under a month. I have very strong feelings for him, but I'm worried it moves too fast. That's basically what's happening here most likely is that this guy is using love. He's a Romeo. He's using love, he's using fantasy to distract him from his problems. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, download the 10 male dating personalities. That will lead to heartbreak. This is like the opposite of the guy that underinvests. He weirdly overinvests. It's a common thing narcissists do. Sometimes it's referred to as love bombing, and it is not good. It is a red flag. Move away. Who's next? We got Brenda. Brenda says, this is from the Facebook group again. Don't forget to join if you are not in. Come and say hi in the Facebook group. Lots of lovely ladies in there. Brenda says, how long does it take before you want to date each other after a breakup? I just can't do it. I talk with them, but I want nothing more. My ex and I keep playing cat and mouse, hot one time, dislike the next. I've tried to get out there, but when it comes down to it, I don't want anyone else touching me. Something's got to give. Everyone recovers from a breakup, Brenda, in their own time. Well, there's two factors basically, the length of the relationship and how codependent the relationship was. If it's a long relationship, even with no codependence, that's going to take you some time to get over. A short relationship with a lot of codependence, a lot of addictive infatuation will also take a long time to get over. And then if you have a long relationship with codependence, that will take you the most time. One of the big reasons that women struggle to move on, especially, well, men as well, struggle to move on, is that there's that addictive story and there's this narrative that I've got to make this work. There's some sort of narrative in that old relationship that they don't want to let go of. So their nervous system doesn't want to allow itself to feel for anyone new. It's often a childhood narrative. If you had an emotionally unavailable father, then you can replay that narrative in your adult life. And the idea that you no longer play that game feels very off to your nervous system. It's still trying to win the game 20 years later, 40 years later from when you were 5 years old. So trying to move away, it says, no, go back, win the game. Remember? The game you got to win, the attention game or the get love game, whatever it is. So giving up that game, giving up that narrative can be a big struggle if you are really having a hard time getting away from a codependent relationship. And the other thing is it can protect you from fear of new. Right? If you stay stuck in the fantasy of the previous relationship, it stops you taking risks and risk being unloved and basically being hurt. So those are the two reasons that it can typically take a lot longer. I hope that makes sense. Oh, next question is from Diane. Diane says, hi Mark, I said I wasn't going to date anyone for a while, but there's someone that means a great deal to me and is a good friend for many years. We're currently divorced and recently started talking at one point, but the timing was also the worst. We admitted it at we live on different continents. We have never met in person. I didn't want to miss a chance to see if we could make it work all this time, but I also want to bring the best relationship forward. What are some things I should consider about how to proceed? My heart's going like a train, but my mind is like, wait, Diane, you haven't met him. You haven't spent time together in person. He's on another continent. You've picked someone with no evidence and already automatic incompatibilities. I'm not saying this could never work, but I'm going to keep it super simple because I want you to have the love you deserve. Is that you've chosen someone here who is a long, long way from that. And just like in the last question, it sounds like there's a narrative, a love will find a way narrative. It's like against all odds narrative that we hold on to, and those narratives hold us back. I keep this really simple, right? If he wants to be your teammate, then it shouldn't be hard. You guys organize to video chat regularly, you get ready for your next visit, which in COVID times is even harder, and you make it happen together. Or you don't. Right? It's super simple. Currently, there is nothing but potential here. And potential is nothing. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, actually. It might develop into something if you both want to be teammates, but right now it is not something. Elena says, how do you communicate your values, expectations in a nice manner, especially when you are from different cultures? Love this question. The guy I'm seeing is always late, which is a big no for me, but something everyone in his country does. He shows up late to every meeting, not just me, even when he even goes late to work. How to communicate importance to him. This guy sounds like me, to be honest. You got to find a workable compromise with him. So you got to express that and see if he's up for it. You share how it makes you feel without blaming him for those feelings. Hey, I want to let you know, I know this is part of your culture, I know this is super normal for you, so I know there's nothing you're trying to do wrong here. I just want to express that when this happens, this is how I feel, and it's a thing for me. So is there a way we can work this together to find a middle ground? He's either willing or he's not. And if he's not, because there's always going to be problems, so if he's not, you've got to decide, is this a problem I'm willing to live with, or is it not? Is it a solvable or an unsolvable problem? Better yet, can you find a workable compromise? Elleshia says, how do you know if a guy is actually genuine about wanting a relationship and not just sex, even if they say they are open to looking for one? Elleshia, with my clients, I find they virtually always know. When you really stop them, and when you really ask them what their intuition is telling them, they know. I can give you a list of signs to look for. You know, signs like, obviously, what's he saying? Is he saying he wants one, or is he saying, hey, I'm just looking for something casual? Right? You can look at his actions. You can look at what he's doing and how those actions are adding up. You know, is he introducing you to family and friends? Is he not? There's a whole list of these in videos, right? But what's really important is he willing? Is he into you enough? And then is he able? Can he handle his fears to the point where he can actually do it even if he likes you? Those are the two pieces. And I truly find that women's intuition, they know. You really do know, especially over time as more and more stuff starts to add up. You're going to know if this guy is he willing to go interfere with you. You know, does he talk about things he's learned? Does he talk about, how does he talk about his exes? Does he seem damaged? Does he seem open? You're going to feel if this is a teammate of yours. Whereas if it's inconsistent and someone is going, hey, I'm great when I'm with you, and then I disappear for 3 days and act like I don't know you, then that is someone who is struggling with fear. No matter how into you they are, they're probably not going to commit. So I actually find that this is one that when you really stop and feel, you'll be able to tell whether the person is number one, willing, and then whether the guy is able. Are his actions able to consistently match his willingness? Your intuition knows. Francis from the community section says, how can I know if he is married? Anouk says, ask him. Couldn't agree more, Anouk. And I'll add that if you don't trust him, that's your answer. Jessica says, how to tell if a guy is truly sorry for a mistake he's made and willing to make up for it himself and for the relationship. What are the behaviors that he shows or is trying to show when not sincere and just so he could get away with it, or behaviors that he's really sorry and striving on his own? I mean, obviously it depends what he's done. But he's got to be willing and able, again, to go above and beyond your standards for what you want. So if he's taken ownership for it, and if he's said, hey, I did this, I want to make it up to you, you now get to state how he does that. You get to state your terms. If it's rebuilding of trust after infidelity, then you get to say, hey, like, you know, I want to rebuild this. I want to have an open phone policy or whatever it is. And you've got to look at what caused it as well and how aware of that he is and what work he's doing around it, right? Words can be lip service in this case. So again, your intuition will know, like, is he really handling the fears that led to this, or is he doing lip service? Depending on the situation, you'll be able to spot this when you really trust yourself. Judy says, oh, this is cool. I'm finding as I get older that I've met someone that I see as a needle in a haystack, that they are much harder to get over, and I would rather go without than settle for less. Do older men do this too? First of all, it sounds pretty healthy. If you were saying, hey, I'm not going to settle anymore, I'd rather be empowered on my own, that's great. That's awesome, Judy. The trick is you've got to make sure you don't close off when doing that. And that can be the challenge. If you've had people who haven't met your needs, people who haven't served you, all you want to do is shut down. So no, Judy, this sounds healthy as long as you are staying open, and men, absolutely, men on your level will do the same. Right? Do men do this too? Of course. Like, we can find examples of men who do anything. You're looking for the guys that want to match you and do the same. Laura says, is it okay for a man to not post your relationship on social media after being together for 2 years? He recently started following his ex. Yeah, back to intuition. I sound like a broken record with this, but it's for a very good reason. Right? I don't really put my relationship a lot on social media. Very rarely, in fact. And I'm friends with my ex. Right? Because my partner and I know that what we have behind closed doors, it doesn't need that external validation, right? It's solid. So you've got to check in, what have you got? What's your intuition saying? Are you trusting that this is good? Right? If you're not trusting his answers, trust yourself. And trust yourself to read his answers. And if something isn't right to you, this is your teammate. You know, investigate that. Figure out what's going on. Figure out why your intuition is ticking off. Luana says, hello Mark, love your channel and your videos contribute a lot to the way I think today. Thank you. Thank you so much for enjoying my channel. Luana, that compliment means a lot to me. My situation is that I'm getting to know this guy online for a bit more than a month. We can't see each other yet. I like him. We have good fun, especially when we're in a call. Some days we even watched a film together. That's cute, as suggested. The thing is, sometimes he says he's going to call me at a certain time of day and he doesn't, and acts like this is all normal. In the beginning it was fine, I wasn't really giving him attention, but still in one of the times I said to him that I don't like this, he apologized saying it is his fault, but it happened again. What do you think I should do? I like him, but I really don't like these kinds of things. I don't see he is sticking with his word. Yeah, I'm sensing something's a bit off here, Luana. I trust your intuition with it, and it really comes down to how well he can address it when you bring it up. Like, you're allowed to continue to bring this up. And you're not doing it to accuse him or say he's a bad person. You're doing it to express yourself. So I'd be very curious if he comes to the table and if he says something like, hey, yeah, you know what, you are right. I've done this multiple times. This is something I've got to work on. If he totally denies it, or worse, like blames it on you, says you're making it up, or if there's somewhere in the middle where he says, yeah, I don't really know, and eventually as you push him more, you know, he takes more ownership of this. It shouldn't be something you ignore. I would definitely say that. And I would say if a woman was doing this to me, I would sense that there was hesitancy somewhere in her. I don't know if that's because she's not quite into me enough, still dealing with drama from her ex, totally terrified of intimacy as we get closer. It could be any number of things, but I'm definitely got my little antenna on being like, yeah, something's off. And the worse she is at explaining it, the more the antenna's buzzing. Luisana says, hey Mark, at early stage of dating, how to spot an emotionally unavailable man early on? What topics, questions are good to ask to discover his values and if our values are compatible? How to not get attached to a guy too quickly? I'll put an article on good questions to ask because it depends on your values, right? One conversation I like to have is to get an idea of how the person sees their intimate relationships. How do they talk about their exes, right? I might ask a question like, what's something you learned from a previous relationship? And if they give an answer like, oh, nothing, he was a ass a-hole, I'm like, okay, you still have stuff, right? Whereas if they say, you know what, at the time it was really wrong, but I learned so much about compatibility, I'm really grateful for that, and I figured out what I really want in someone. Cool, that's an attractive answer. You're looking to feel especially for a guy, you're looking to feel how he feels about commitment. You can ask him what he wants to do, where does he see his life 5 years from now? It really depends what's important to you, right? If you want to know if he's financially driven, ask him something like, how do you see money? Or if you had endless money, what would you do? Or if you could choose money or, time, what would you have more of? Like, ask him curious questions that get into what your values are and figure that out. The other signs of obvious emotional unavailability is that he says so. If he says he's not interested in a relationship, he is not. If he has too much chemistry with you, we talked about this before, if things are just like crazy good chemistry, I love you, it's the first month, I don't even know you, that's a sign he's distracting and emotionally unavailable. And finally, number 3, you will feel the distance. He's your teammate some of the time, he's not the other time. Feel that inconsistency out. And again, I really do find that women know. Every time I stop and ask a client, they can tell me. So if you really get in your intuition, you'll be able to answer this. Especially after a month or 2, these things have gone along. But remember, a guy has to be willing and a guy has to be able, and those are 2 very different things. Great question. How to come back against an egoist person? You don't. You stop giving him your time. P says, I'm coming to the end of an internship where I have a really hot colleague. I believe the interest is mutual. We were supposed to meet up in person. The work is remote. But the coronavirus didn't make that happen. Stupid virus. Thankfully, we have plenty of excuses to keep having virtual meetings outside of work. Any tips to subtly flirt with him? Also, don't put my name up there. I've had a lot of questions from women saying, what can I do to keep his interest? What can I do? What do I need to do? What do I have to do? It's about being. This is something Helena Hart and I talk about in our Feminine Magnetism Mastery course a lot. It is about you being. Right? Men come to you for the emotional experience. They come to you because they want to feel your energy. When you bring that same energy, whether it's playfulness, whether it's vulnerability, whether it's excitement, whether it's any case of your feminine energy, whether it's your softness, all of these energies, whether it's your great vibe, men come to women for these energies. They come for playfulness, they come for vulnerability, softness, they come to feel your sexuality. Any of the energies that he has liked from you in person, he's going to keep liking that. So if you just be and you put that best energy across, uninhibited, you will find out quickly if this is your guy and if he wants to stick around to keep enjoying that, or if he wants to bugger off and get out of the way for the man who does. Hey, if you do have your questions, don't forget to post them below. And the first chapter of my book, as well as the 12 texts to make him yours, is free from the description below. You can check out the Empowerment Academy as well. Pornimi says, can you please make a video on dating a man-child? How to deal with them. It's very difficult to be mum of a man who is not serious about a relationship but demanding as hell. It is also difficult to leave him. Please make a video on this topic. Advice for dating man-children. You don't date man-children. It's really that simple. If you are dating man-children, and if you're finding yourself in this situation, the truth is there is a part of you that is very comfortable with that. Part of you feels at home mothering a man-child. And the same part of you that feels at home mothering a man-child is not going to want to date an equal. It will feel purposeless. You'll be like, this guy takes care of himself. What's my purpose here? I was literally on a client call 3 days ago where the woman said this. I said, what would it feel like to be in a relationship where you don't have to take care of him all the time? She said, I feel totally purposeless. You got to change your definitions of love, girl. You got to change them. Ultimately, you decide what you bring into your life, right? And if you're bringing this in then you've got to address the part of yourself that feels comfortable with it. Again, with a coach, psychologist, or just yourself, you've got to address that part, or the part of you that feels worthless without mothering. Heal that, and then you'll be okay going into a relationship with a man who wants you but doesn't need you to mother him. Crinela has a question from Romania. It says, Mark, I love what you do. Mwah. I've been in a relationship for 5 years and I don't feel loved. He's the only man I was with and I really love him, but he is cold and rarely has time for us. We have lived together for 3 years now, but we only make love once or twice a month. I need affection, but I can't force him. What should I do? I'm focusing on myself. I always try to look good or focus on my hobbies. He has told me that I ask too much of him. Look, you're doing some of this right already. You can do your own thing more, and you can enrich yourself, and you can express your needs to him, right? And express how you are feeling. Don't make him responsible for those, but express to him openly how you are feeling. Those are the two things that you can do. Beyond that, he has to decide if he wants to come to the table and work with you. And at the moment, it sounds like he doesn't. So you've got to ask yourself, is this a problem that I'm happy if it continues unsolved? I mean, are you? I don't think you would be. And if that's the case, then you've got to take it a step further. Maybe you guys go to counseling, psychology together. Maybe you hire a coach together. Maybe you, I don't know, maybe you find a different way to show affection or have the conversation in a different way. But if this is a problem that requires, that's a non-negotiable for you, then you can't let it slide. And this is your partner, right? This is something you got to work on together. And if the problem can't be solved, and if the problem is non-negotiable for you, then please do not spend another 5 years in a relationship where you're not getting what you deserve. LNGG says, now that it's COVID-19, I have people who ghosted coming back to life. The zombies have returned because they are bored. Is it worth to give them a chance, or should I tell them to screw off? Look, I wouldn't tell them to screw off because I'm not about spreading bad vibes in the universe, but I wouldn't be expecting much from them. If I'd been ghosted by a girl and she came back and I was single during COVID, I would probably talk to her. Right? I'd be happy to take her attention and entertain the idea, but I'm really not expecting anything much. So really the question is, how much can you not let this person take up space on your emotional highway? If you can just kind of chat to them casually and enjoy the attention, cool, do it. But I definitely would not be expecting anything solid from them. The exception would be if they come to you and they communicate over what they did and their understanding over why it was wrong. I once had a woman come back to me after 6 months and basically say, hey, I really screwed up. This is why, this is what went wrong. And I gave her another chance. So sometimes people can change and learn their lesson. But if there is nothing that comes up about it, you're just there for attention. I wouldn't be counting anything major happening on it. Bagadol says, I have a massive mental problem. Right. The guy I've liked from second, I saw him, started to talk to me, invited me out to get to know each other as friends. He's respectful, he's loving, he's sweet. Although I'm measuring his words with action since we've known each other about 5 months, but don't contact each other every week. Okay. At the beginning, he was online all the time and would talk to me all day. He adds a lot of girls on his social media. He's friendly and sociable with everyone. He can't be alone. Okay. But now when I see him online and not talking to me, I think he's flirting with other girls. You're probably right. So we have no relationship. He's very nice with me, but I can't help being bitter and a bitch when we do chat. Must be my past experiences. Must indeed. I can't control my mind. How can I be loving and cheerful and friendly self that brought him towards me when I have in my mind that his sweet words are just lies and he's not talking to me, he's flirting with other girls? I chose this question because it's a really good example that it doesn't just take a relationship for someone to not express their needs and for resentment to build. This is a dating situation. And Bagmi Gadol, whatever this name is, you have been basically accepting crumbs. for 5 months. You haven't expressed your needs, and now the result is inevitably resentment, because that's what happens. You get anger, you get resentful because that person's not meeting your needs. So I don't think it's worth spending any more time on this person. If you were going to, you can send him some form of the step up or step out text. But for you, it's going to be really important for you to look back over this and say, where was it along my timeline that I stopped expressing my needs, or I didn't hold this guy to my standard? Because that's when the resentment started to grow. And with that unexpressed, the only thing you can do is express it later. But if it's been pent up for a while, it tends to not come out in the best way, as you're finding. So I encourage clients when this happens to step back, take a look at how they can express their own needs better, and say, all right, in the future, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to correct it now. So to conclude, you might take ownership of it. You might say, hey, I want to let you know, I feel like I stayed quiet for a couple of months over this. I'd really like to speak to you more. Is that something you're interested in? And if he says no, bugger off. Take a few months off him. Live your own life, and then you can start afresh with the new standard in place when he inevitably comes back. Great question. I like it. S. Wald has a question from the subscriber page, the community. Make sure you're in there and post your question below for the next quarantine Q&A. Let me know if you're enjoying. Hit the like button if you are, and we'll keep doing these while we're all stuck in quarantine together. S. Wald says, what is the best way to let guys down when they approach you and ask for your number or out on a date? In the past, I've lacked boundaries and ended up in situationships that did not serve me because I didn't want to hurt someone else by rejecting them. I'm a friendly person and my kindness invites unwanted advances. I want to honor my boundaries, honor the courage of the men who approach me, but also say no thanks. Do you have any super smooth ways that I can do this? So it's important to realize and remember that part of having good relationships means an ability to hurt people. Right? I know that sounds weird, but I had to do it as a vet when I realized that you have to hurt animals a little bit to help them. You have to be willing to inject them with a needle. You have to be willing to put a cannula in their arm. You have to be willing to make them uncomfortable. And that's a real challenge to an animal that can't understand why you're doing it. Pulled on my heartstrings for sure. It's the same in relationships. The ability to be authentic requires you to sometimes hurt people. It's that simple. You have to hurt feelings. Otherwise, you're bending all the time and you're changing what you say and you're walking on eggshells. You can't be authentic and things go unsaid and the relationship sinks. So for beautiful empaths like yourself, S, you got to be willing to step up and risk people getting hurt. You're not going to do it intentionally and you're not going to do it in a way that disrespects them. It can be as simple as, hey, I honor you for having the courage to ask, but I'm not interested, thank you. It takes a real man to ask, so thank you for that, but I'm not interested. If they persist, just hold eye contact and say no. You don't have to give a reason. Oh, don't you want to? Oh, come on. No, I'm not interested, thank you. Oh, but come on, give it a chance. Why are you being so stuck up? I'm not interested. All you got to do is say it. You don't have to explain yourself, defend your position, and you're allowed to hurt people as long as you're being authentic and you're delivering it in the way that is honest with you, which you're never going to come off malicious because that's not your intent. What should I text him so he'll like me? We got the 12 text to make him yours for free and messaging magic in the description below. So that's 80 pages of texting. Took me forever to put together. And with no other context, Kachi, that is the only advice I can give you. Alexandra Kovacs says, hi Mark, really enjoyed your videos. I have one constant problem I need help with. How is it that every guy I meet, even from different cultures, show me interest, I see it in their body language, see they are genuinely into me, then nothing. They disappear. I'm 32, look nice, people say I'm pretty, what's wrong then? Do they fake body language? It sounds like you are getting a lot of attraction, Alexandra, but not a lot of connection. And I suspect that if this is your pattern, that the men who are not wanting to connect or not willing to connect are being reflected in your own unwillingness to connect. So if the guys you're meeting are constantly emotionally unavailable, then there's got to be a part of you that resonates with that. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening all the time. So without diving deeper, I dare say there might be some fears of intimacy and fears of being worthy of the love you deserve, fears of the love you deserve, that could be coming through in these guys that show attraction then ghost. It's more than likely that part of yourself is doing the same thing. I have an urgent question from Sick. All right, let's get to it. I would like to tell a married man's wife that he's been cheating on her with multiple women for years. But what are some good ways to approach this? What method would you use to deliver the message? And most importantly, how to say it without anything backfiring? Look, I put this question in because if I'm the guy and this was happening to me, I would want to know. I don't know your exact means. I don't know how you know the guy, but make it subtle. And if you have an answer for Sisk, post in the comments below. I've never been in this situation, so I would just figure out a way that was subtle and that wouldn't be read by the husband, obviously. In some of these cases, the wife already knows and just doesn't want to act on it. So I wouldn't do it more than once. And I wouldn't blurt out everything. I'd make it a simple note. Hey, this happened. If you want to learn more, if you want to know more, let me know. But I felt it was my moral duty to say something. You won't hear from me again. Leave it at that. If she's curious, she will come to you. Cindy says, what's the best way to get a friend to see that you'd like to date them when they see you as just a friend? One of my male friends that I've liked has asked, what kind of men do you consider dating? How do you say the you type without embarrassing both of us? I just say you're smart, figure it out, but he can't. He will ask everybody out except me because he sees me as a friend and not a date. Like, really? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm going to attach a full video at the bottom in the description for you to check out on how to turn your friend into your boyfriend, how to get out of the friend zone. You've got to usually take a little break and you've also got to express some interest first. Question from Michelle. Michelle says, what's your opinion on older women dating younger men? Do you think it is doomed or has the potential to be great? Doesn't matter my opinion, it can work. It can absolutely work. There's plenty of couples out there that make it work, but those couples that do it healthy are the minority. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my video on age gaps. I'm going to put that in the description so you can have a read on the problems created by age gaps. The greater the age gap, the higher risk of incompatibilities due to where you are in life, your goals, all the normal things, as well as the higher risk of toxic patterns. So a caretaker-𝐀𝐁𝐿 relationship, a parent-child style of relationship, mothering, that sort of stuff can all happen with greater and greater age gaps. So it's not the age gap that's the problem, it's what the age gap causes that's the problem. So you got to check your own relationship and see if, first of all, yourself and your own relationship to see if those things are present in there. Madame Bubbles says, when he was opening up via text, I always replied to him, but when I opened up to him, he left me on red and I'm feeling so bad and devalued and foolish for opening up in the first place. We were all on lockdown, so I know he could have had an emergency or is really not interested in replying. It can be either. I don't know. I've not texted again to check up with him. It's embarrassing enough to be left on red after being vulnerable with someone you liked. It's a terrible feeling. I wish I hadn't even started texting him. It's such a yucky feeling to be left on red for days during this lockdown. Madam, I'm so sorry to hear what's happened, but you've actually done everything right. Well, okay. The texting thing could be improved. But the opening up vulnerability first, that's brilliant. Okay, often you have to lead the vulnerability. The women will often lead the vulnerability. And that's exactly what you want. Vulnerability over text is somewhat of an oxymoron. So I'd really encourage you to save that valuable part of yourself for a person who is there with you in person, or at least on video call. Do the vulnerable thing the vulnerable way. But once you've done that, don't feel embarrassed. Be proud of yourself. That's the whole thing. And then you just see if the man can step up, and if he can't, that's okay. Right? Not every man, in fact, most men won't be able to. That's the whole point. You filter out the ones that don't. So no shame in that at all. It takes incredible courage to do that. And last question, we got Barbara with kind of long, sorry. She says, I have a seizure disorder which has impacted my life in many ways. I could never drive, and as a result of this, my employers had issues with COVID. My first job wasn't until this year, which is 27. I can't have children, and having a lot of these seizure episodes, basically. I had to explore myself to know if it would be okay to have sex. And the good news is that I didn't have a seizure when I did that. But the two things I'm concerned about are dyspareunia, painful sex, and dysorgasmia, painful orgasms. I know a man wouldn't want to hurt me, certainly not intentionally. However, inevitably, my medical condition could come with nerve damage. Basically, how do I address this? How do I bring it up? I spoke with a client recently about dealing with HIV, which she was nervous about telling men, understandably so. And I can totally see why you would also be nervous about saying this. So it's going to be about how you bring it up and how you frame it. So I would definitely say to you, go and watch the video where I demo this. I'll put the link in the description. And then you want to be bringing this up before you get to the bedroom. There's going to be good opportunities when you're dating to bring this up. So anytime the conversation goes towards things you're grateful for, lessons you've learned, any type of sexual conversation, there's going to be all sorts of windows where you enter into this, where you have the opportunity to. And you can literally say, hey, yeah, you know, the guy might say, what's a challenge you've overcome recently? You say, actually, you really want to know? Oh, there's one I'm really proud of. And he says, yeah, of course. You say, well, I used to be really insecure over this, but because of I had a nervous system issue, and it meant that I used to have these seizures. Thankfully, it's under control now, and I was worried for a long time that it was going to affect my sex life. And to be honest, for a little while it did, because sometimes sex can be painful for me, and sometimes like it can be, you know, uncomfortable. And there was guys that weren't okay with that. You know, they were so focused on making me orgasm or making me feel good that they took it personally. But it's been good since then. You know, I found that the people that want to work with me do so, and I filtered. You know, I've had those men come to my life, and those that don't, or those that are really insecure about always pleasing me, they're not so much. So no, it's been good, and I've learned a lot from it. Now, I just did that on the spot, but you can see when we frame it as, okay, this is a thing that I've learned from, it's something I have been insecure over, I'm giving him like, hey, this is going to happen when things get to sexy time. And I'm presenting it in a way that's now allowing him to decide well before we get to the bedroom. Putting the expectations in the right place. So Barbara, thank you for your question. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. We've got all sorts of conversations going in there. Lovely ladies in there to help you out. I'll be in there as well during the quarantine. We're doing more of these. So post your comment in the space below. Hit the subscribe button with the bell and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Like I say, post your questions and I will see you in this weekend's video. Bye.